All right. Well, I'm really glad you guys are on today. We're actually going to be going over fats tonight, learning a little bit more about healthy fats. And so you should be able to see my screen okay. And this is a really interesting topic because what we find with healthy people is oftentimes they don't realize the importance of eating good fats. And I've worked with several women who had almost everything going else right in their nutrition, and yet they just weren't eating good, healthy fats. And so it was kind of stopping their progress. And so we're going to learn a little bit more about tonight of some things that we can do to avoid some of those fats we shouldn't be having, and then also to get in some of those good fats. So if you'll just follow along with me, I want to make sure you all are aware of what we're doing. This is something special in January we do where we talk each Wednesday night. So last week was carbohydrates. We're going to talk about fats, protein, all together. I'm just going to mute everybody. So if you have anything you need to, you can unmute yourself. That way, as people come on, we won't be able to hear that. So, next week we're going to talk about proteins, which is usually a very popular topic because everyone wants to know more about protein. And then the last week's my favorite because we get to talk about kind of bringing it all together. And we get to talk about our listen and lose system. So I want you to know we'll be posting those on Facebook, as you've seen. It's kind of over posting. I apologize about that. We want to make sure everybody sees that. So this is a slide you'll see every week, and it's important that we realize that 80% of our results are going to come from nutrition. So if you're coming to class every day or you're working out in a gym every day and yet you're not taking care of stuff in your nutrition, then you're not going to see those results. So keep remembering that 80%, guys, that's a lot, is dealing with nutrition, and only 20% exercise. Now, this is really important for you to understand. This is what sets our program apart. And this is something that I've developed because of my own personal struggles over the years, and that I've finally found freedom. And so this is something I will preach until I'm blue in the face, is listen and lose system of eating. So we're going to make sure we're looking at these steps. So I'm just going to touch on a few. We have to check our emotions. There is no diet out there that's going to fix an emotional eating issue. And when I say emotional eating, we're talking bored or lonely or sad or happy, that you're using food to try to fix an emotion. Some of the other things on here is I want you to see is that we're not going to eliminate entire food groups. For in my own experience, that has led to some bad choices, because if I say I'm never going to eat bread again, what do I want to reach for? I want to reach for bread. Or I'm never going to have chocolate ever again, so I better eat it all tonight so that tomorrow it'll be out of my pantry. And I'm sure I'm not alone when I say that. And so we don't want to do that because it's going to probably lead to failure. The other things I want you to touch on here is that we're going to ask ourselves how we're going to feel after we eat this that we're thinking about eating. And then finally, we need to have some grace on ourselves, because there's going to be times that we eat way more than we should. There's going to be times we make choices that we probably shouldn't have made, and we need to have grace on ourselves. I think that is the biggest key here. And make sure that you remember that if you beat yourself up, you're only going to set yourself up for more bad eating. At least that's been my experience. So as you can see, these are things that are very real and things that I personally have struggled with, and I'm sure most of you have at some point or another. If you want to learn more about that, there is a YouTube video, and I just want you to think about this, of the freedom that we can have when we're really listening to that hunger and fullness. And I want you to think about that we teach moderation in all things, all things. We went out to a Mexican food restaurant the other night. I had queso and chips. That's fine, okay? I had a cookie today. That's fine. That is not going to sabotage your whole weight loss journey. So you want to kind of start to think about food a little bit different. So let's go ahead and dive into some of these funny diet things that are out there right now. This is pretty typical. Last week I shared one as well, that, we're going to start off strong. We have a kale smoothie with a banana for breakfast. We're doing good. Lunch, we have avocado toast and quinoa salad. And you're thinking like, okay, I'm doing pretty good. And then you're so hungry that you get home and just pretty much eat out the kitchen. Can anyone relate? I would guess probably so. And so I think what we need to start to do is to reevaluate what we're doing. If we know that we're going to get home and eat way too much, it's probably either one, because we're super hungry, because that was not very much food, or two, maybe that's when we let the emotional eating take over. And so we need to start to take steps to really avoid some of that, if at all possible, and think about ways to prevent that sabotage that often happens at night. And I've worked with many women over the years, and that is what they most say, is that the evenings are their most difficult time. So no matter what kind of diet list you have, it doesn't matter if you know that you have an emotional connection with food. So you've got to deal with that first. It's very important. Let's take a look at this. It's kind of scary, guys. They're now saying that half of Americans are 30 pounds overweight. Okay, over 30 pounds overweight, and it's going to continue to grow. So I want you to look at this comparison here. This was just it was talking about from 1980, okay, to 2008. So this was a study where they took just that amount of time, and look at the difference. So that was in 2008. Can you imagine what it looked like today? I think it's probably doubled again. I mean, these are just scary statistics. And the thing about it is that the more overweight that we are, the more risk for disease in our bodies. And so we want to learn a little bit more tonight about how to hopefully eat some different things and prevent some of this. Okay, you want to look at this illustration here. Have you ever thought of your body like a car? Well, it is. And we've got to have fuel every day. But we've got to not only have the gasoline, we also have to have the oil. And so I want you to learn, we were learning about carbs, proteins, and fats. And so those are called macronutrients. And in our carbs, we want to get about 40%, 40 to 60, somewhere in that range. Proteins 30, fats around 30. So, but the oil is actually our micronutrients, and those are the other things that we've got to make sure we get in our body every single day. And when we say vitamins, we're not talking vitamin pills, okay? We're not talking vitamin pills. We're talking about the vitamins from whole food. And that is another reason we teach what's called Juice Plus, because it's fruits and vegetables. That's it. We need vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and those phytochemicals going in our body. So let's talk about our second macronutrient. So we covered carbs last week, and now we're talking about fats. So think about this, that the body actually needs fats, okay? That is so different from what often we think. Sometimes we hear the word fat and we get scared. We scare off from it and we think, oh no, I don't need anything fat. That's not true. But we need more of the good fats and less of the bad fats, obviously. And then oftentimes those good fats can be kind of what our diet is missing. It can be a real key to health and weight loss. So if you feel like you're doing everything else right, let's look and see if maybe this is your missing key tonight. So let's learn a little bit more about what these look like. So our good fats, all right, we want about 20 to 30% of our daily calories from these. That seems pretty high. That's almost the same amount of protein that we actually need. So we're probably getting plenty of fat in our diet, but it's probably not the good fats. So those good ones are the omega-3s and the unsaturated. So those are going to come from things like flaxseed, tuna, salmon, walnuts, almonds, cashews, any of those nut type of things, okay? Avocados, that's good news if you like guacamole, all right? The thing with a lot of these, though, are we have to watch those portions, okay? So if you're taking notes, the portions of things such as almonds and walnuts are going to be 15 to 20, not several handfuls, okay? So a good way would be to definitely get home and unpackage your nuts because they're going to come in those big packs. And if you're not careful, you'll sit there and just be eating. So we want to actually package them in the 15 to 20 little Ziploc bags. The other types of things that are really good are the avocados. So when you go out to eat at a Mexican food restaurant like we all do, the guacamole, they're going to give that big scoop, okay? That whole scoop is not a serving. It's about half of that scoop. Obviously, the problem can come with the more chips that we eat. But some of those things can give you a good idea. These are the good fats. These are the fats we want every single day, okay? Then there's something called a bad fat, okay? So we're not at the worst yet, but this is bad. Less than 10% of our calories need to come from this, and that is those saturated fats, okay? Saturated fats are usually our animal type of fats, any of our bacons or butters, high-fat dairies, that type of thing. So less than 10% of the fat calories. So remember, we're having 20 to 30% of our fat, but only 10% of the actual fat calories should come from saturated fats. And I guarantee we're all getting more than that at some point or another. Finally, we get to the one we're going to spend a little more time on tonight because this is a really scary one. And these are called the ugly fats. And these are our hydrogenated oils, hydrogenated fats, or our trans fats. Now, thankfully, society has kind of caught on to this, and so that's kind of a buzzword nowadays of trans fats. But we're going to dig a little bit deeper and to realize what's really going on here. If you're in P31, we talked about our nutrition demonstration Your trainer may or not have brought anything or talked about it yet, but they probably will. And we gave this demonstration, and that demonstration was about chips. And like we talked about, we all love chips, but the problem is we probably eat way more than a serving. So in this bag of the chips I brought here, only 9 chips composed of 1 serving. Well, I know I eat way more than 9 when I eat chips. Well, our illustration was talking about when we go out to eat at a Mexican food restaurant and how 12 to 15 chips is a serving at a Mexican food restaurant, and that equals a tablespoon of Crisco. Okay, and it's not that you're eating straight out Crisco, but the illustration there is to teach us how much fat those chips are containing. And so 12 chips equals 1 tablespoon of Crisco. Well, I know for me, I've eaten a whole basket of chips myself for sure. And I'm sure you guys can all relate there. And we often joke and we say, well, we shared the chips. Well, yeah, but you had 3 baskets between 2 people. So add that up and we'll soon figure that out. And so what we're looking for is that we want to know that the partially hydrogenated oil or the shortening is what we're looking for on those ingredients lists. Okay, now pay close attention to this because this is pretty interesting. Trans fats are a molecule that our body doesn't even quite understand. It actually is flipped upside down. It has a head on backwards. So our body doesn't even know how to read it properly. And also what happens is that these fats are going to raise the levels of our bad cholesterol, and they're going to reduce the levels of our good cholesterol. That's not good, guys. That's not good. And that's what hydrogenated fats do. The other thing they do, and I think this is the most scary, is that they're actually interfering with our cells' ability to metabolize those good fats. So you can be doing really well with getting your good fats in, but what you find is that you're blocking it because of the trans fats that you're eating. So that can actually lead to some brain damage and nerve cells because our cells aren't getting the correct nutrients. So pretty scary stuff there. That's why trans fats are so bad for us. Okay, but the kicker here, guys, is that we have to read the label. We cannot look at the marketing because over here on the right, you're going to see that 0 grams of trans fat per serving. That is everywhere. They are bragging about that there is no trans fat per serving. But what I want us to start to look at is that when we actually look at the ingredients list of the label, we will see down at the bottom, I don't know if you can see this, it's probably kind of small on your screen, it says 0 grams of trans fat per serving. But down in the ingredients list, it says partially hydrogenated soybean oil. Well, how are they allowing you to see that? I mean, that's the most false marketing. Well, the FDA is allowing them to put the 0 grams if it has less than 0.5 grams per serving. So think about that for a minute. Most of us probably eat more than 1 serving of whatever it is we're looking at. So all of a sudden now, if you have 2 servings and it has about 0.5 grams, you're now getting a gram of trans fats. It's in there. I looked at several things and it's in there, even though they're saying 0 grams of trans fat. So be very careful about this. That is their marketing technique. So think about what that looks like. Kind of scary. So let's kind of compare some of these here. So some of our good fats here. The butter, yes, full fat butter. Okay, that's a good thing for us. We're looking at some of the coconut oils, olive oils. Any of the plant-based things are typically pretty good for us. Okay. Then for the bad fats, these are the ones that I'm sure we all have in our pantry. The vegetable oils, the canola oils, any of the margarine type things. That was a big thing back in the 80s, 90s, is that they thought, oh, this is so much better for us. Well, it's not. And then basically any of those refined oils. So this is something that you can kind of look at and make a connection with what you currently are eating and try to make one swap out to see if you can do a little bit better. Okay. Next, we're going to look at what fat looks like in our body, which we all are probably pretty aware of. We all can name a place in our body where we have some fats. But what I want you to see here is that 5 pounds of fat is a lot, all right? 5 pounds of fat. And these extra things that we're learning about eating fats can lead to gaining fat, okay? So we want to kind of stay away from some of these things, the 10 pounds, 15, and the 20 pounds. And so just a quick illustration to kind of remind us of some things there. So let's talk about the famous fast food. This is scary, y'all. Oh, please know, I believe with our listen and lose system that nothing is off limits. And so if you had a hamburger tonight or you had French fries yesterday, This is not a time to beat yourself up. It's a time to educate yourself, and there's a difference. So think about this. The average amount of fat in a fast food hamburger is 16 to 18 grams of fat, okay? We didn't really cover this, but in your gray book, if you're in P31, you learned that per fat, there's 9 calories per 1 gram of fat. Okay, so if there's 16 to 18 grams, you're going to multiply that times 9. And that's going to give you your calories in that. Okay, but the average amount of fat in a large French fry is 30 grams. Oh my goodness. And that's a large. That's not the biggie jumbo ones we now have. Okay, so if you think about this, I just mentioned a tablespoon of Crisco is going to be about 12 grams of fat. So, oh goodness, 2.8 grams. We are looking at a ton of fat in this 30 grams. Okay, this French fry here, guys, could have about 2.5 to 3 tablespoons of Crisco as far as fat content. That's scary. So check this out. The hamburger, 1 to 2 tablespoons of Crisco, and then 2 to 3 in the French fries. We would never go into our pantry and scoop out a couple of tablespoons of Crisco and eat it. But when we are putting this kind of stuff in our body on a consistent basis, that's exactly what we're doing. And remember, most of that's going to be the really bad fat for us. And so just think what you're doing inside our cells and our arteries. It's scary stuff. And I hope you notice that I keep saying we and us. I'm right there with you. I'm right there in this struggle with you. And it's tough. But the more we can be educated, the less likely we're going to choose this every time, okay? A couple of keys on hamburgers and eating out is try to pick either the hamburger or the French fry if you're going to do it, okay? Don't get the hamburger and a large French fry and a Dr. Pepper, all right? Let's try to pick one thing and then make another healthy choice. Also, try to cut that hamburger in half. Eat half of it. Try to share the fries with somebody. Just let's not totally sabotage ourselves if we're going to do it. Check this out, guys. The furthest away you can be from McDonald's in the U.S. is 107 miles. That means it's everywhere, okay? We're being marketed to like crazy. It's pretty scary. So, okay, we've learned some stuff about fats. Well, great, Rachel. Thank you. What are we going to do now? Well, the most important part is we're going to listen to those listen and lose tips, all right? We're going to slow down. We're going to check our emotions. We're not going to hide things we're eating. We're going to allow all food in moderation. We're going to make sure we're listening to our body. Okay, those are big ones. Then when we talk about fats, we're going to get those good fats in more often. Okay, remember, those are our unsaturated fats. Those are our plant-based fats. We're going to try to limit those bad fats, and especially the trans fats. We're going to educate ourselves every chance we can, and we're going to stay away from those things that teach the quick fixes, because there isn't one. And we're going to make those small changes each day. And so just as I mentioned, if you're going to go out to a fast food restaurant, make one small change, all right? Get just the hamburger. Don't get the hamburger, the fries, and the Dr. Pepper, all right? Making one change is going to make a big difference. A couple of these other healthy fats I wanted to show you because I thought this was a great illustration to show our servings. So when we're talking about nuts, this is any nuts. Those are going to be those omega-3s, 1/4 of a cup. It's not very much. We're talking 15 to 20 of the nuts. Okay, again, please try to package it out separately, or if you're like me, if you don't, you'll sit there and just eat out of the package and end up eating too much. This oil is interesting to see. This coconut oil is kind of coming out more and more. People are really getting into this. 2 tablespoons, okay? Flaxseed oil is another one that's really good for us. And then avocado, 1/2 of an avocado. So some things you can do to get these fats into your daily diet is you could even add them to some of your smoothies, okay? Like I mentioned before, we usually don't think that, oh, I don't need to add any fat. Well, we do need to add good fats. So think of ways you can incorporate this into your daily routine. Love this. This gives us a good idea in the grocery store of some different things that we can buy in regard to buying these groceries for our fats. So we want to look at all of our nuts and seeds and oils, and then also some of those nut butters, all right? If you have like a Vitamix or a really powerful blender, you can even make your own. I know that sounds crazy. I never thought I would be able to do something like that, but you just throw almonds in there and in my Vitamix and blend it up and it makes almond butter. So that's a good alternative as well. And then of course, any of our fish, salmon, tuna, tilapia, all of those are going to be very, very good for us. I want to point out one thing down here at the bottom are eggs. All right, next week in protein, we're going to talk about eggs quite a bit too. But when we talk about in regard to fats, all right, oftentimes people think, well, stay away from eggs, it has too much cholesterol. Remember, eggs is a natural source. And so the cholesterol, yes, the fat, yes, those are high, but it's a good natural source. And so whenever you're doing eggs, I like to teach to do 1 whole egg to 3 egg whites. So you're getting a ton of protein with not all the fat. But like you're still getting that yellow taste, that the yolk that we like to eat, okay? So in our Listen and Lose book, you guys have all received a coupon for $10 off. And if you don't have this Listen and Lose book yet, you need to get it. But this is just an example of what's in there. Here's a page from the book on fats. We teach all these things throughout this book. We educate you so that you have a better plan for what's ahead. It's $24.99, but right now you can get it for $14.99. So I highly recommend you buying that book. Some of our other resources we have available is that I want you to remember we have food trackers that you can get from your trainer. You can email me for that. We do have cookbooks. We have blog articles that talk about these real issues. All right, I'm blogging about things like emotional eating and the struggles that we face and getting on the scale and things like that. So that's on our actual website under news. We also offer nutrition consults. We support and we encourage everyone to get on Juice Plus because it's fruits and vegetables only. Okay, no other, you don't need to be taking any of this other stuff, supplements. You don't need to be taking crazy diet pills. You need food. And that's why we teach Juice Plus. Okay, we don't teach any quick fixes. Fruits and vegetables, whole foods, educate yourself. And then we have an awesome Facebook group for all of our Juice Plus customers as well as a resource for you. So if you want to learn more about Juice Plus, you can click on any of the information on our website or you can talk with your trainer. It's a great thing that your whole family can be a part of. Taking it 14 years, I'll never stop. All my kids take it. It's great. This is simply what it is, food. Okay, as we close out a couple of things, if you have a gray booklet or a pink one, you can flip over to the back and we have what's called a 90-day challenge. And this is just a way for you to kind of jumpstart your health habits. And it encourages lots of whole foods. It encourages fruits and vegetables. It encourages good, healthy, complete shakes. And you can learn more about that too. You notice it's a 90-day challenge, not a 21-day fix. There's a big difference too. So I'm going to emphasize this point as we start to close, is that 80% of our results are going to come from that diet and those choices that we're making, but only 20% exercise. Now, when we put those together, we feel amazing. So don't think you can do one without the other. We need them both. And this is a powerful quote, guys. Read that and think about it. There's no diet that will do what healthy eating does. Skip the diet and just eat healthy. When you hear a diet, I want you to run far, far away. I want you to try to incorporate some of these things that you're learning about more of the emotional side of things. And I want you to start to think about the connection you have with food. And most of all, I want you to think about how is your body going to feel when you eat X amount of food. So here's our tips one more time. We can't hear them enough, so stay with me. We're going to check those emotions. We're going to slow down. When we're eating those chips at the Mexican food restaurant, I want you to break each chip in half and dip each half of each chip in the salsa. Put your hands down. Take a drink between. Slow down. Don't sit there like I've done before and scarf them in, okay? We're going to allow ourselves a small treat every day. Every day. 150 to 200 calories every day. That is not going to kill your diet. Don't diet or try to eliminate entire food groups. It can lead to failure. Okay, the word diet is meaning you're choosing to go on some sort of elimination, but you are on a healthy diet. It sounds crazy, but diet is the way that we eat as well. We're not going to hide anything we're eating. We're going to ask ourselves how we're going to feel and bringing it up with that grace. We're going to have lots of grace on ourselves. So just as we close out tonight, I want you to remember that you need to be educated. The more we can be educated, the better. These type of webinars, any type of information you can get from a good, credible source online is awesome. Just try to make sure it's not your latest Pinterest post that you're getting your education from. Remember, our body's a temple, and what we eat really does matter. And in P31, we're all about being real. Okay, you heard me tonight say several times about things that I struggle with and the things that we're eating, but we're real. We're real. Okay, I don't sit around and eat broccoli and chicken all day. I wish that I could. That'd be nice and, all healthy and clean, but I don't. We're very real, okay? Real results, and we're striving to eat real food. We're going to follow that Listen and Lose program, and you know that we are here with anything you may need. So please don't ever hesitate to reach out to us as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop the share. And if you guys have questions, your faces are all about to pop up. So down at the bottom right, you can actually unmute yourself if that's something you would like to do to ask a question. Does anybody have anything that they would like to ask questions about tonight? Hopefully you can unmute yourself or just kind of raise your hand or something. Awesome. We had 18 on tonight, so that's great. Any questions? All right. I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody real quick. Okay, so it could get loud. Hold tight. Okay, I'm going to unmute everybody. Anybody that had any questions? Okay. All right. Well, obviously it didn't go till 9:15. So these recordings will be available, and the carbohydrates one is available from last week. If you need that, you let me know. And I encourage you to keep sharing this information and keep learning, and go get that Listen and Lose book because you're going to need it. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining on tonight, and I hope you all have a wonderful eating. All right. Bye.